After dating for 5 years, Evelyn Young finally discovered the reason Quentin Chase wouldn't marry her. A little boy who suddenly appeared in the restaurant screamed, picked up a glass, and smashed it heavily onto Evelyn's head. Quentin immediately squatted down, softly coaxing the child in his arms who was calling him Dad. The child pointed at Evelyn, crying as he asked Quentin, "Is this bad woman my stepmother?" Quentin held him and said gently, "Of course not. I promised your mother I wouldn't marry anyone else." As Evelyn clutched her bleeding head, staggering to stand up and wanting Quentin to take her to the hospital, he quickly picked up the child, covered the boy's eyes, and said to Evelyn, "He's still young, don't hold it against a child." Watching his retreating back, Evelyn threw away the diamond ring she had prepared to propose to Quentin. Later, he prepared a grand drone proposal, but Evelyn showed him the engagement ring on her hand. The proposal he made her wait for was done by someone else. A scream shattered the romantic, thick atmosphere of the restaurant. Evelyn Young's face was covered in bright red bloodstains. The stinging red liquid dripped down her forehead into her wide, open eyes. Before she could react to what had happened, Quentin Chase, who was sitting opposite her, had already quickly stood up and pulled the crying little boy into his arms. No one had noticed when that boy, who looked about 7 or 8 years old, had come in. Not until he rushed to Evelyn's table, grabbed a glass, and smashed it ruthlessly onto her head. The delayed, severe pain made Evelyn's body tremble uncontrollably. The little boy in Quentin's arms was still crying and making a scene. He pointed at Evelyn, whose head was bleeding, with infinite grievance. "Daddy, is this ugly woman my stepmother? I don't want her to be my stepmom. I don't want it." The whispers around them grew louder, but Evelyn clearly heard Quentin's answer. "Of course not. I promised your mother I wouldn't get married again. You won't have a stepmother." The blood flowing into her eyes stung terribly, and Evelyn's heart felt as if it had been suddenly squeezed by a giant hand. She didn't know whether to be shocked that her boyfriend of 5 years had been married and had a son, or to be heartbroken that her boyfriend said he promised his ex-wife he wouldn't remarry. Chaotic emotions kept washing over her crumbling body, and her vision gradually blurred. Evelyn could distinctly feel the heat draining from her body. She supported herself on the table to stand up, casting her unfocused gaze toward Quentin. "Quentin, my head hurts so much, take me too." Before the word hospital could leave her mouth, Quentin had already stood up holding the little boy. His first action was to cover the boy's eyes, then he walked quickly toward the restaurant exit, leaving only one sentence behind. "Don't hold it against a child. I'll call Mrs. Higgins and have her take you to the hospital." Evelyn watched helplessly as that back disappeared into her blurry vision. The uncontrollable sourness finally drowned her teetering consciousness. When she opened her eyes again, she saw the cold white ceiling of the hospital. Her head felt like there were several blenders running inside. It was painful and dizzying. Mrs. Higgins saw she was awake and hurriedly reached out to help her up, handing her a glass of water. "How did you get hurt? When I arrived, I saw your whole face and head covered in blood. You scared me to death." Evelyn took small sips of water from the cup, scenes from the restaurant flashing before her eyes. Tears silently fell into the cup. Evelyn didn't know why she was crying. Maybe it was the pain, the wound hurt, but her heart hurt even more. At this moment, footsteps came from the ward door. Mrs. Higgins' voice paused. "Dr. Chase, you're here." Hearing that name, Evelyn's body trembled violently and she didn't look up. Quentin's steady voice came, "Mrs. Higgins, you can go back first. Sorry to trouble you this time." After Mrs. Higgins left, the ward was quiet for a long time, so long that Evelyn's neck began to ache from looking down. The cup in her hand was taken away by Quentin. He held Evelyn's hands with both of his voice gentle and soft. "I'm sorry. Charlie is the child I had with my ex-wife. We've been divorced for 7 years. I didn't tell you because I thought they wouldn't disturb our lives." Quentin's palms had the warmth Evelyn coveted immensely. Under this temperature, all of Evelyn's defenses collapsed rapidly. Quentin avoided the wound on her head, pulled the softly sobbing Evelyn into his arms, and gently comforted her. Quentin stayed in the ward for a long time, but neither of them brought up the topic of the child. Evelyn herself didn't know why she felt panicked, why she didn't dare to ask Quentin about what he said to the child in the restaurant. "I promised your mother I wouldn't marry anyone else." Finally, Quentin was called away by colleagues from his department. Evelyn stared fixedly at the chain bag in front of her. In that bag was a men's ring she had prepared for a long time. Today was the restaurant she had carefully chosen, planning to propose to her boyfriend of 5 years. Now, Evelyn suddenly understood why the mature and steady Quentin, who had lived with her like a married couple for so long, never mentioned marriage. It turned out he had made a promise to someone else long ago. Evelyn opened a locked photo album on her phone. There were 5 photos in total. They were all photos of her and Quentin, one for each year. Originally, Evelyn wanted to use these 5 photos at their wedding, but looking at them now, it was a bit ironic. The latest photo was taken just last week on her birthday. That day, Evelyn's birthday wish was to be with Quentin forever. Staring at that photo for a long time, Evelyn still couldn't bear to delete it. At least he is still by my side, at least. We should give each other a chance. Evelyn wasn't sure who she was saying this to. Forest of Love, waiting for your return too. The wound on Evelyn's head wasn't severe, but she had lost too much blood and needed to stay in the hospital for a few days. Quentin ran to her ward whenever he had free time. When the nurses came, they often teased her. Evelyn would blush, and the hole in her heart seemed to heal a little. However, Evelyn understood that the hole was just papered over. A strong wind would expose it again. That day, Quentin brought the little boy to Evelyn's ward. The boy's face was covered in tear streaks, and his hand was being pulled forcefully by Quentin. The situation that day was too chaotic, and Evelyn hadn't seen the boy's face clearly. Now she realized the boy's eyebrows and eyes were very similar to Quentin's, but only similar. Quentin had an overall gentle temperament, but this boy's immature brows carried a hostility that didn't match his age. Quentin pushed the boy to Evelyn's bed, his tone stern. Apologize properly to Miss Young. Evelyn rarely interacted with children, so she sat somewhat awkwardly on the bed, looking at the child who resembled Quentin. The boy wiped his eyes fiercely with the back of his hand, mumbling, "Sorry, Miss Young, I shouldn't have thrown the glass at you." Evelyn waved her hand reflexively, and then she saw the boy look up. There was unconcealed hatred in his eyes. Evelyn was frightened by his gaze. She didn't hear what Quentin said afterward at all. It wasn't until Quentin left with the child and nurse Walker, whom she knew well, came in that she reacted. "Miss Young, you can be discharged tomorrow afternoon. You're recovering quite quickly. Luckily, the cut on your forehead isn't big, so it won't leave a scar, but you still need to be careful in daily life. Come back in 3 days to get the stitches removed." Evelyn snapped back to reality, smiling and thanking Nurse Walker. What she didn't expect was that, when Quentin brought her home from the hospital, she would see Charlie watching TV on the sofa. Evelyn froze at the door for a moment. Quentin put the things in his hands on the shoe cabinet and looked back at Evelyn, who was standing still. "What's wrong, Evelyn? Didn't I tell you yesterday that Charlie would be staying at our house for a while?" Before Quentin finished speaking, Evelyn's favorite throw pillow on the sofa suddenly flew to her feet, and the child's uniquely high-pitched voice rang out abruptly. "This isn't your home, you ugly woman. This is my daddy's house. Get out, I won't let you in." Quentin bent down to pick up the pillow, walked quickly inside, and grabbed Charlie, who was still screaming. "This is Evelyn and my home. You are the guest. I let you stay here because you promised to be good. If you keep making a scene, I'll send you back to your mother." Hearing this, Charlie suddenly calmed down. He lowered his head, tears dripping onto the wooden floor with a patter. "You promised me you would only have me as your child. You promised Mommy you wouldn't get married. Are you throwing me away now, Daddy?" The anger that had just risen on Quentin's face dissipated instantly. He hugged the trembling Charlie and comforted him. "Of course not. You will always be Daddy's only child." Evelyn, still standing at the door, seemed to have been forgotten by the whole world. She picked up her luggage bag and silently walked into the bedroom. Seeing the father and son hugging in the living room from the corner of her eye, she couldn't help but imagine what they looked like as a family of 3. From Charlie's face, one could vaguely tell that his mother must also be a beautiful woman. So, why did they separate in the first place? This masochistic imagination made Evelyn's chest feel tight. That night, Evelyn slept alone. Quentin didn't step into the bedroom all night. Evelyn tossed and turned in bed. She didn't understand why Charlie was so hostile toward her. Clearly, they hadn't even met before. Could possessiveness over a father make a child commit such dangerous acts? And that alarming look in his eyes. The next morning, Evelyn woke up very late. there was a message from Quentin on her phone. "Evelyn, I went to work and I dropped Charlie off at school. His mother really has something to do, so he'll stay here for a week. Sorry for the trouble. Wait for me to come back and cook dinner tonight." Evelyn sighed. It was this gentleness of Quentin's that made her reluctant to let go. Current Evelyn fell into a deep confusion. She understood that she wanted to spend her life with Quentin and had even decided to propose to him, to take that step herself. But now, before that step was taken, she had fallen and broken her head. Evelyn began to feel afraid. After thinking for a long time, Evelyn decided to wait until Charlie left, then have a good talk with Quentin. If he couldn't give her what she wanted, then she would let go decisively. In the afternoon, Quentin called Evelyn, saying he had an emergency surgery added and asked her to pick up Charlie. Evelyn hesitated for a while, feeling that there was really no need to hold a grudge against an 8- or 9-year-old child, so she agreed. When she arrived at the elementary school gate, many parents were already waiting. Soon, the teacher led a group of little ones queuing up toward the gate. Evelyn unconsciously thought, if she and Quentin had a child in the future, they would probably be this cute too. But then she remembered Quentin's words, "Daddy will only have you as a child." The corners of her mouth, which had just risen, fell again. When Charlie came out and saw her, he was obviously unhappy. A child next to him asked who was picking him up today, and Evelyn clearly heard his answer. "The bad woman who stole my dad." These words were obviously not a child's own thoughts, but Evelyn really didn't want to speculate with the greatest malice about Charlie's mother, whom she had never met. Evelyn let out a long breath, silently chanting, "He's still small, he's just a child," in her heart, then forced a smile. After getting Charlie into the car, Evelyn breathed a sigh of relief, afraid he would scream and shout outside like the previous 2 times. But soon after, she knew she had relaxed too early. Forest of Love, waiting for your return 3. The road turning into the residential complex was a bit congested, so Evelyn slowed down to stop and queue. Just at this moment, Charlie, sitting in the back, suddenly opened the car door, jumped out, rolled on the ground a few times, and began to wail loudly. Evelyn was startled and hurriedly got out to check. Unexpectedly, as soon as she approached, Charlie began to scream loudly. He yelled, "Please don't hit me anymore, I won't talk nonsense again." A crowd had already gathered around. Charlie sat on the ground, scooting backward, and several older women began pointing fingers at Evelyn. Evelyn was instantly at a loss. She wanted to explain, but didn't know what to explain to these people who knew nothing. She wanted to go forward and help Charlie up, but as soon as she approached, he started screaming as if Evelyn had really done something to him. Years of experience as a journalist entering countless dangerous places couldn't help Evelyn solve the current situation, so she hurriedly took out her phone and chose to call Quentin. "Quentin, where are you? We are at the intersection at the entrance of the complex." Charlie suddenly jumped out of the car and is crying and screaming on the ground. "I can't control him." Quentin's voice was fluctuating. Obviously, he was on the move. He gently comforted Evelyn, who sounded like she was about to cry. "Don't worry, I'll be there right away, 3 minutes at most." Quentin's words gave Evelyn a moment of peace of mind. She turned to look at Charlie, who still refused to get up from the ground. An older woman saw her action and spoke up, considering herself righteous. "What kind of mother are you? The child is sitting on the ground like that and you don't care. Can't you see how blocked the traffic is behind you?" Just as Evelyn was about to explain, Charlie, half lying on the ground, suddenly shouted again. "She's not my mom, she's the slut who seduced my daddy." Evelyn could never have imagined that the words seduce and slut would come out of the mouth of a child less than 8 years old. Just as Evelyn was being tortured by the various gazes of the people around her, Quentin finally appeared. He squeezed through the crowd, picked up Charlie, who was lying on the ground, turned to the pale-faced Evelyn and said, "Get in the car first, we'll talk at home." Evelyn opened the car door with trembling fingers. Until she entered the living room, she hadn't recovered from the strange looks of the crowd. Charlie was exceptionally well-behaved in Quentin's arms, his body still slightly trembling, looking as if he had been greatly traumatized. Quentin put Charlie in the guest room. Because of Charlie, Mrs. Higgins, who usually came to clean and cook, had been leaving very early these days. Evelyn sat in the living room to calm her emotions. A moment later, Quentin came out of the guest room. He went up and hugged Evelyn, whispering in her ear, "I'm sorry, Evelyn. I shouldn't have let you face Charlie alone. Charlie has a severe mental illness. Rage and mania are daily occurrences. I thought his mother taking him abroad for treatment a few years ago would have led to some progress. I didn't expect it to still be like this. Don't worry, today's situation won't happen again. Hearing that the child was sick, Evelyn's ill feelings toward Charlie faded slightly. After all, maybe he couldn't control his emotions and behavior either. In the end, Evelyn didn't repeat what Charlie said outside the complex to Quentin. She had interviewed many parents of children with severe mental illnesses. The helplessness and heartache in their eyes were memorable. That night, Quentin didn't return to the bedroom. Early the next morning, she saw Charlie eating in the dining room. Evelyn adjusted her expression and smiled to say hello to Charlie. Unexpectedly, Charlie looked at her with fear. He even accidentally dropped his chopsticks on the ground. Charlie immediately knelt down to pick up the chopsticks, muttering incessantly, "Sorry, sorry." Evelyn didn't understand his behavior and frowned unconsciously. At this moment, Quentin walked over quickly from inside and pulled Charlie up. He looked at Evelyn with a very bad expression, then let out a long breath, as if suppressing something in his tone. "Wait for me to come back from work, let's have a good talk." Evelyn was baffled by Quentin's expression, so she simply canceled her leave and went to work. Busy work indeed left Evelyn no time to think about other things. Only when she was about to enter the house did she remember what Quentin said in the morning. After entering, she only saw Mrs. Higgins busy in the kitchen. Mrs. Higgins said Quentin took Charlie out to eat. Evelyn didn't say anything. Ignoring Mrs. Higgins' hesitant expression, she ate silently. It wasn't until it was completely dark that Quentin and Charlie entered the door. Evelyn had already returned to the bedroom. Since Charlie appeared, Evelyn increasingly felt like an outsider. The persistence in her heart was faintly showing signs of cracking, but Quentin didn't notice. Quentin walked into the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed looking at Evelyn, who was still processing drafts. He paused and said, "I talked to Charlie last night. I know his attitude toward you is bad. But he is a child with mental illness after all. You shouldn't have said those words to him. He is very sensitive." Evelyn turned to look at him inexplicably. "What did I say to him?" A look of disapproval appeared on Quentin's face. "It might be nothing if you tell an adult to get out or something, but Charlie is different. I hope you can pay attention." Evelyn instantly got agitated, her volume unconsciously increasing. "I didn't." Quentin stood up directly and turned to walk out of the bedroom. "I just hope you can pay attention to Charlie's state next time. I won't ask so much of you." The bedroom door, gently pulled shut by Quentin, felt like an incredibly loud slap, leaving Evelyn stunned for a long time. After a while, she realized Quentin didn't believe her. He judged her crime without even seeking verification from her. Forest of Love, waiting for your return. For various emotions began to surge in Evelyn's chest. The perfect partner she had lived with for 5 years seemed to have become different. Allowing the sourness in her nose, Evelyn opened that album. The album was named Us, and there was one photo inside. It was the 3rd year they were together. That year, Evelyn followed an exposure story. After the report was released, it was maliciously claimed to be a deliberate smear by a rival company. The whole internet followed suit, cursing her as a journalist who took dirty money. At that time, Quentin chose to believe her immediately, even though he didn't know what happened at all. He said as a boyfriend, isn't trusting his girlfriend the most basic thing no matter what happens? But today, he broke this promise himself, leaving no room at all. Teardrops fell on their smiling faces. Evelyn permanently deleted that photo. That night, she made a decision. When she was willing to delete all 5 photos, she would leave Quentin's life forever. Then Evelyn began to pack her things. She realized incredibly clearly that living with Charlie would bring too many uncertainties. Regarding this child who shared Quentin's blood, her identity made it hard to get along with such a child. She didn't want to make things difficult for Quentin, nor for herself. It was midnight when she left. Evelyn left silently. Before closing the door, she looked at this house where she had lived for 3 years, hoping there would be a day she could return. Evelyn returned to her small apartment. It was very close to her workplace. Back then, she moved to that place with a commute of over 2 hours just to live with Quentin. Evelyn slept surprisingly well after going to bed hastily. When she went out to work in the morning, she met her neighbor, Gabriel Green. He was a neighbor Evelyn had watched grow up, 5 years younger than her. After graduation, their parents bought 2 adjacent apartments, so they became neighbors again. Gabriel was surprised to see Evelyn, and then obvious joy appeared on his face. "Evelyn, you moved back, did you and Dr. Chase break up?" Evelyn was a bit amused, stood on tiptoe, and rubbed Gabriel's head. "Call me older sister, I moved back to stay for a while." Evelyn automatically ignored the second question. After all, Gabriel asked this every time they met these past few years. The two went out talking and laughing. This relieved the stifled Evelyn a lot. But this happiness didn't last long. All day, Quentin didn't contact Evelyn. Evelyn, who stared blankly at her phone from time to time, was teased by colleagues several times, and waves of bitterness rose in her heart. She had to start guessing her position in Quentin's heart. This feeling of being soaked in suspicion and panic all the time was terrible. Just like that, a whole day passed. When Evelyn realized it in the evening, she was already on her way back to Quentin's place. Sitting in the car, Evelyn couldn't help but smile bitterly. Maybe Quentin hadn't even discovered she had moved out. Just in this moment of distraction, a large truck suddenly slammed into her from behind. The huge force smashed Evelyn fiercely onto the airbag. The smell of blood immediately filled her mouth. In the dizziness, fresh blood stained her vision again. After a burst of tinnitus, Evelyn reacted. She fumbled for her phone and called for an ambulance, a sharp pain in her chest. Evelyn tried to stay awake and dialed Quentin's number. "Quentin, I was in a car accident. It's serious on the Tunin Viaduct." The voice in her ear was intermittent, but Evelyn still heard it. Quentin's voice sounded anxious. "Charlie has a fever and I can't get away. I'll give you the insurance company's number. Contact them yourself. Hanging up now." The busy tone after hanging up seemed to synchronize with Evelyn's heartbeat at this moment, the frequency so fast she couldn't breathe. The phone vibrated again. Evelyn answered with infinite hope, and Gabriel's energetic voice came. "Evelyn, what time do you get off work today? Want to come to my place for dinner?" Indescribable sourness drowned out the severe pain in Evelyn's body at this moment. She unconsciously began to gasp for air. Gabriel noticed her abnormality immediately. "What's wrong, Evelyn? Where are you? Did something happen?" The moment before plunging into total darkness, she heard Gabriel's voice. "I'm coming right over. Don't worry, it'll be okay." Forest of Love, waiting for your return 5, waking up in the hospital again, Evelyn was somewhat familiar with the white ceiling in view. There were rustling sounds beside her. It was Gabriel. He was sitting on a stool with brows furrowed tight, flipping through Evelyn's medical chart. Noticing Evelyn was awake, he hurriedly asked if she wanted water or if she felt uncomfortable anywhere. Evelyn had broken a rib. There was nothing else serious, but Gabriel's concern made Evelyn feel warm like family. She herself hadn't expected that one day, the one accompanying her in the hospital would be this younger brother, who looked young and completely unreliable. And the person she thought she could entrust her life to chose to leave her behind time and again. How ridiculous. When Gabriel went out to buy food, Evelyn turned on her phone with a hope tinged with despair. No messages from Quentin. It was morning now. All last night, after learning she was in a car accident, Quentin hadn't even made a single call. The day her head was smashed by Charlie, that blurred retreating figure appeared in her mind again. Ignoring the vision blurred by tears, Evelyn opened Us again and deleted a photo of them by a flower bed. That time, Evelyn won her first journalism award. Quentin accompanied her. For this, he turned down an important speaking opportunity at a medical forum and swore that Evelyn would always be his first choice. Now, he broke his word again. Quentin not only didn't choose her, he even gave up on her. Looking at the remaining 3 photos, Evelyn's chest ached faintly. Although she was very unwilling, she also understood that this was a necessary process. Quentin contacted Evelyn 3 days later. During this time, Gabriel was the one taking care of her. He was in the last year of his master's degree. It was obvious he was so busy he was overwhelmed, but even so, Gabriel came to see Evelyn every day, sometimes even bringing food he cooked himself. Regarding Quentin's indifference for days, Evelyn went from extreme disappointment at the start to seeming relieved now. So when she received Quentin's call, Evelyn's tone was surprisingly calm. Quentin's voice sounded exhausted. "Evelyn, how long are you going to make a scene? How old are you to still run away from home? I'm already very tired. Can't you be considerate of me? When did you become so immature?" Evelyn, who hadn't said a word, heard such a string of accusations as soon as she answered the phone. At this moment, her emotion wasn't grievance, but finding it laughable. "Quentin, you don't ask where I've been these past few days, starting right off with accusations. I was in a car accident. I almost died when I called you. You told me to call the insurance company. How else should I be sensible? Go take good care of your son." Without waiting for Quentin to answer again, Evelyn hung up the phone. Turning her head, she saw Gabriel standing nearby. Evelyn was breathing a bit fast due to emotional fluctuations. Meeting Gabriel's worried eyes, Evelyn, still angry, simply told Gabriel everything. Gabriel was even angrier than Evelyn. The two huddled together and talked for a long time, and Evelyn's mood instantly improved a lot. Quentin called her many times that day. Evelyn didn't answer. Unexpectedly, she saw him in the ward early the next morning. He looked haggard, the dark circles under his eyes very obvious. Evelyn didn't quite know how to face Quentin, so she simply pretended not to see him. Quentin walked over, sat by Evelyn's bed, picked up her hand and placed it by his face. "Evelyn, I'm really sorry. That day Charlie had a severe fever. I didn't want anything to happen to him while he was with me. I'm sorry. I didn't balance things well during this time. I haven't lived with Charlie before, so I can't grasp the degree. I know you felt very wronged these past few days. It's my fault, I'm sorry." Looking at Quentin's guilty expression, Evelyn felt a bit sarcastic. Why do men always apologize and beg after the fact, but never think about the root of the matter? She leaned lightly into Quentin's arms, hiding the mockery in her eyes and the turmoil in her heart. That day, Quentin and Evelyn talked for a long time. Quentin decided to send Charlie back to his mother as soon as possible and hoped Evelyn would move back afterward. By the time Gabriel arrived, Quentin had already left. Evelyn told Gabriel about their reconciliation. Gabriel's expression wasn't great, but he didn't say anything. Evelyn stayed in the hospital for a few days and went home to recuperate. Recovery would take about 2 months, so she applied to work from home during this period. In the second week after she went back, Quentin took her back home, saying Charlie had been sent away. Evelyn entered the living room. She found that all the furnishings in the living room were exactly the same as before Charlie came. The twists and turns of this period seemed never to have happened. Forest of Love, waiting for your return 6 that day, Evelyn prepared to go out for a walk. Having not moved for too long, her bones felt soft. Unexpectedly, she saw Charlie at the door. The little boy was carrying a school bag, and standing next to him was an older woman from the residential committee. She had come to collect property fees a few times, so Evelyn had seen her. At first sight of Charlie, Evelyn began to feel instinctively afraid. The physical and psychological harm this child brought her was too etched in her memory. Charlie turned his head and saw Evelyn, immediately trotted over and knelt at her legs with a thud, saying tearfully, "Miss Evelyn, please don't let Daddy drive me away. I want to be with Daddy, please." Meeting the disdainful gaze of the committee woman, Evelyn felt a deep sense of powerlessness. Just at this moment, Quentin's voice came from the direction of the elevator. Charlie, Evelyn turned back to see Quentin trotting toward them. Just then, a sharp pain suddenly came from Evelyn's calf. She reflexively struggled and shook her leg. Charlie, who was still holding her leg, seemed to be thrown by a great force, crashing toward the wall. Evelyn clearly saw the small knife blade in Charlie's palm and a trace of a sneer on that immature face. Charlie's crying resounded through the hallway, along with the committee woman's ear-piercing sarcasm. Quentin ran to Charlie and hugged him in panic. He looked at Evelyn with a complicated gaze. Evelyn stood there, not knowing what to do or what she could do. Quentin took Charlie to the hospital and didn't return that night. Evelyn suddenly found she couldn't muster the emotion of grievance anymore. She just felt tired, not understanding why she had to endure this. Just because she was dating Quentin, Quentin came back in the latter half of the night. Evelyn hadn't gone back to sleep. She sat waiting in the living room with the lights off. Quentin was startled when he came in. As soon as the light turned on, Evelyn looked at the dark TV screen expressionlessly and said in a narrative tone, "I didn't kick him away. He cut my calf with a small knife." After speaking, she pulled up the hem of her nightgown, revealing a bloody cut. Without waiting for Quentin to react, she returned to the bedroom. As she expected, Quentin didn't follow. It was hard to describe the feeling. Quentin seemed to be getting further and further away from her. Looking through us, this time she deleted a candid photo taken by a colleague. It was their first meeting. Evelyn was accidentally injured by excited participants during an interview and fell in love with Quentin at first sight in the hospital. Now, Quentin seemed to have lost the attraction that made people want to get close, and the heartbeat of the first meeting had become dim. Regarding Evelyn moving back again, Gabriel was very happy, but this time he asked that sentence again. "Did you break up with Dr. Chase?" This time Evelyn didn't actively ignore the question, but paused and answered lightly. Soon, Gabriel saw Evelyn's poor complexion and didn't say more. Life continued, and Evelyn was also very busy working from home. Quentin called a few times, and Evelyn answered. Before Us was completely deleted. She wouldn't actively propose a breakup, whether out of ritual or other messy things. Quentin acted as if nothing had happened, still sending concern for Evelyn's life, taking her for checkups, interacting with evasiveness. Evelyn didn't say anything either. Regarding Quentin's attitude, she couldn't generate much emotion now. Maybe she also understood that they would be over soon. She just didn't expect it to be so soon. Forest of Love, Waiting for Your Return 7, that day was Quentin's 35th birthday. In previous years, Evelyn would prepare long in advance and spend a lot of effort choosing gifts, but this time she didn't want to. Quentin also noticed something was wrong with Evelyn, but said nothing. He just booked a restaurant Evelyn liked. They tacitly maintained the final silence. Not long after Evelyn arrived at the restaurant that day, a woman suddenly appeared in Evelyn's line of sight holding Charlie's hand. Undoubtedly, that was Charlie's mother. The woman was very thin, wearing a velvet long dress that matched her big wavy curly hair very well. Quentin had no expression when he saw her. "Why are you here?" he asked her somewhat helplessly. The woman pulled out a chair for Charlie to sit and stroked her curly hair. "What? Haven't seen you for so many years. Can't I even celebrate your birthday?" Then the woman turned to Evelyn. "Hello, I am Zoe Sterling, Quentin's ex-wife." The obvious provocation in Zoe's eyes made Evelyn very uncomfortable, but she still reached out and shook her hand. This meal was incredibly awkward. Evelyn was like an audience member for their family of 3. Finally, after finishing the meal, Quentin took Charlie to the restroom. Evelyn and Zoe waited for them outside. Just as Evelyn prepared to leave early, Zoe suddenly spoke. "Quentin can't marry you. He promised me he wouldn't remarry. Sooner or later, he will return to my side." Evelyn was just about to speak when Zoe suddenly grabbed her hand and whispered in Evelyn's ear with a low laugh, "Let's see who he chooses." After speaking, she forcefully pressed Evelyn's hand onto her own shoulder, then leaned back with the momentum. Behind her was a flight of about 20 steps. Evelyn was caught off guard and was pulled by Zoe, rolling down the stairs together. Her vision kept flipping, along with severe pain from her body. Charlie's scream was in her ears. "Daddy, save mommy quickly," lying on the ground, almost losing all control of her body. Evelyn opened her eyelids, which could barely move, and watched helplessly as Quentin ran past her to help Zoe up. A tear slid down Evelyn's stinging cheek into the corner of her mouth, bitter and astringent. Her ribs, which hadn't healed yet, hurt to the point of numbness. The surrounding sounds were messy, but Evelyn could only hear her own heartbeat, a sound that seemed to be getting further and further away from her. In the last second before falling into darkness, Evelyn saw the back of Quentin holding Zoe. Waking up from the hospital, Evelyn tried hard to smile at Gabriel sitting next to her, looking at the familiar white ceiling. "I could get a hospital membership card." Gabriel didn't make a sound. A low pressure surrounded his whole body. He turned and left the ward to find the doctor. Suddenly, only the sound of Evelyn's breathing remained in the ward. The smile Evelyn held slowly faded. Scenes of being abandoned by Quentin replayed instant by instant in her throbbing mind. The pain all over her body couldn't cover the sourness in Evelyn's heart. Zoe's triumphant expression kept replaying before Evelyn's eyes, very dazzling. Just as Evelyn was still immersed in her own world, noise suddenly came from outside the ward. Gabriel's angry voice was very obvious. "Quentin Chase, you bastard, you still dare to come? Evelyn was almost killed by you. Can't you keep your ex-wife and son away from Evelyn? Do you still want to have it both ways?" Then came chaotic sounds and sounds of people breaking up a fight. Evelyn couldn't get out of bed at this moment, so she could only look anxiously out the door. A moment later, Gabriel pushed the door open and came in looking a bit disheveled. His hair was a bit messy, and there was a bruise on the corner of his mouth. He looked up and met Evelyn's worried eyes. Gabriel lowered his head guiltily, walked over, and sat down. Evelyn didn't say much. Instead, she asked for her phone, opened it to check for work messages. Then, hesitating for a second, she clicked Open Us. Among the remaining 2 photos, she chose one to delete, almost without any hesitation. Then she stared at the last photo, thinking, should I just do it all at once? Ultimately, she put it down, chanting silently in her heart, one last time. After persuading Gabriel to go back, Evelyn dialed Quentin's number. If you have time tomorrow, come over and let's talk. After speaking, Evelyn hung up the phone on her own. At this moment, Evelyn's emotions were strangely calm. She leaned on the bed, thinking quietly. The hospital Evelyn stayed in this time was not the one Quentin worked at. There were no acquaintances, which made Evelyn very at ease. When Quentin walked into the ward, Evelyn was surprised. He wasn't wearing a white coat, though his hair was still neat. Only there were many glaring bruises on his face, breaking his refined temperament. When Quentin sat by the hospital bed, Evelyn first apologized to Quentin on Gabriel's behalf. After all, it was her family who caused trouble. Quentin shook his head with a complicated gaze. He didn't look into Evelyn's eyes, unsure if he was unwilling or afraid. His gaze had no focus, his tone flat. I'm the one who should say sorry. Since Charlie appeared, you've been getting hurt constantly. It's my fault. I didn't take good care of you. Evelyn looked at Quentin's tired eyes and found it hard to muster heartache anymore, at most a little pity. Evelyn also looked away and asked, why does Charlie have such great hostility toward me? Quentin paused for a long time, then let out a long breath. Charlie's mother and I knew each other since we were young. We got together when she was in college and got married very quickly. When she was pregnant, we found that there were many irreconcilable conflicts between us, not just personality clashes. She became very paranoid during pregnancy, hysterical every day. We couldn't do anything. Life was a mess. Our parents also felt that we really weren't suitable to live together, so they took her away. On the day she gave birth to Charlie, we met again. I was waiting outside the delivery room with my parents. The doctor suddenly called me in, said the mother wasn't cooperating, and insisted on seeing me. I went in and saw her lying there bloodless. That day she was like an evil spirit, grabbing my hand, forcing me to swear that I wouldn't marry anyone else, wouldn't have other children. She also said if I didn't agree, she would die on the operating table with the child, so I promised her. Quentin's voice was trembling. Evelyn still didn't turn to look at him. The ward suddenly became very quiet, with only the sound of their breathing. Evelyn didn't speak. She didn't know what to say at this time. Quentin suddenly held her hand. Evelyn, give me some time, I will handle it well. Evelyn gently withdrew her hand, closed her eyes tiredly, and whispered, you go back first. Let's both calm down for a while. The closing of the door was very soft, stirring ripples in Evelyn's heart. Many complex emotions kept surging. In the ward, an inaudible sound rang out. Then, what about me? What do I do? Forest of Love, waiting for your return. 8 When Gabriel came in the evening, he was carrying soup he stewed himself. The bruise on the corner of his mouth was more obvious. Evelyn looked at him with a bit of blame. Gabriel smiled guiltily at her, pulling the wound on his mouth, his expression twisting in pain for a moment. He helped Evelyn sit up gently. He said somewhat guiltily, yesterday I was impulsive and couldn't hold back. But say it yourself, during this time, you get hurt as soon as you go to him, and they aren't small injuries. You didn't get hurt this frequently even when reporting in disaster areas. Can I not be angry? Quentin Chase acts like nothing happened, couldn't even take you to the hospital. This time, if the doctor hadn't answered when I called you, I wouldn't have known where to find you. Listening to Gabriel's increasingly angry rant, Evelyn smiled helplessly. Gabriel's concern was direct and warm. It was hard not to be moved. Her ribs were injured again. The previous injury hadn't healed, and she didn't know how long she would have to lie down this time. Evelyn, staring blankly in bed, suddenly received a call from a colleague. She thought something urgent happened. As a result, the colleague's voice didn't sound anxious, but hesitant. Evelyn, is your health okay? Evelyn was a bit strange. It's okay, just can't get out of bed right now. Is there an urgent task? The colleague hurriedly replied, No, it's not a task, it's just, the office received a report letter. It's about you. Saying you intervened in someone else's marriage, causing their marriage to break up, and caused the child to have serious mental illness. Now the boss wants to talk to you. Evelyn knew almost instantly who did this. After thanking her colleague, a huge burst of anger rose in Evelyn's heart. She called Quentin. Quentin answered quickly. Evelyn didn't say unnecessary words. Send me your divorce certificate. Zoe Sterling sent a report letter to my workplace saying I destroyed your marriage and claimed I caused your son's mental illness. Quentin, I didn't hold it against them when the mother and son bullied me for your sake. My job is my bottom line. If she does such bottomless things again, I will sue her along with the incident where she pulled me down the stairs. After speaking, Evelyn hung up the phone and began organizing the email for the boss. Quentin's message came quickly. Besides the photo of their divorce certificate, there was a dry sorry. Evelyn didn't have time for sentimentality. She organized the timeline clearly, attached the photo sent by Quentin, then called the boss and explained the whole story. The boss was a woman over 50, usually very kind. She listened patiently to Evelyn's explanation, first sighed, Little Evelyn, the workplace won't interfere much in your young people's emotional affairs, but you have to handle this matter well yourself. You are a very promising industry leader. You can't ruin your future because of some unwarranted personal conduct stains. Evelyn chatted a few more sentences with the boss, then hung up with a complicated mood. As a result, just after lying in bed for a while, the phone rang again. This time it was an MMS photo from a strange number. Zoe Sterling lying in a hospital bed, Quentin holding a spoon feeding her. Evelyn stared at the photo for a long time. She found that when she saw this photo, there were no ripples in her heart. Sadness, grievance, even bitterness seemed to be gone. She didn't know if she was numb or really completely disappointed in Quentin. Evelyn recovered quite well this time. After 2 weeks in the hospital, she could go home to recuperate. Gabriel took Evelyn home. He even wanted to hire a live-in nanny to take care of her, but was persuaded by Evelyn. Since that sorry, Quentin hadn't contacted Evelyn again. Evelyn suddenly remembered that in the 5 years they were together, every Cold War was ended by Evelyn actively showing goodwill and apologizing. Quentin always seemed to be a superior, posing with a magnanimous, forgiving attitude, calmly accepting Evelyn's every retreat. That strange number would send photos to Evelyn every once in a while. Sometimes photos of Zoe and Quentin together, sometimes photos of their family of 3. Evelyn didn't reply or block. She didn't quite understand Zoe either. If she really loved Quentin so much, why did she agree to divorce him back then? Why not just lock him by her side, agreeing to his divorce, yet not allowing him to remarry? Appearing again after so many years, posing as the main wife. What was she after? In the second week of recuperating at home, Quentin came to Evelyn's house. Evelyn hesitated at the door, but let him in. Quentin brought snacks Evelyn loved to eat. That old brand store was in the neighboring city. Buying them was troublesome. Evelyn looked at the snack box, bitterness rising in her heart. How did they become like this? Quentin sat down, his expression plain. Just like before, as if nothing happened, talking to himself about what he had been busy with recently. Evelyn sat opposite him and interrupted him. Do you still want to be with me? Quentin froze, then looked into Evelyn's eyes, then quickly looked away, gaze shifting downward. Of course, Evelyn, I said, give me some time. Evelyn opened the text messages on her phone and placed it in front of Quentin. Give you time to accompany your ex-wife and child properly, right? Quentin, I like you, but not enough to lose my dignity. Today I'm described as the mistress destroying your marriage. Tomorrow I'll be described as your kept woman. Quentin, if you didn't have the ability to cut ties with your ex-wife, you shouldn't have provoked me from the start. Evelyn's tears silently covered her face, falling drop by drop onto the floor. Quentin's fingers on his knees clenched instantly. No, Evelyn, I just don't want to hurt her. After all, she risked her life to give birth to Charlie for me. Her mental state isn't good either. I can't stimulate her anymore. Evelyn pulled a tissue and wiped the tears off her face fiercely, trying hard to suppress the choking in her tone. You don't want to hurt her, so you hurt me, right? Do I deserve this? Quentin didn't speak, lips pressed tight, brows furrowed together, looking incredibly conflicted. Evelyn suddenly got up and took out a box, sitting opposite Quentin again. "The day Charlie appeared, I was prepared to propose to you. You never mentioned marriage, so I took the initiative, but I didn't expect to get a broken head that day, and you suddenly had an extra son." Evelyn stared at the box containing the rings, took a deep breath, and said, "Quentin, are you willing to marry me? Answer me right now, or let's break up." Evelyn looked at Quentin. Struggle flashed in Quentin's eyes, then he looked away, lowering his head. "I'm sorry, Evelyn." Evelyn chuckled softly, stood up, took the ring box, and threw it out the living room window. Outside was an artificial lake. The ring box was very light, disappearing silently into the thick night. Evelyn turned and smiled at Quentin. "It doesn't matter. From today on, we have no relationship. Don't talk to me about being friends. I have no interest in being friends with an ex. Also, remember to tell your ex-wife she has one. Don't disturb my life anymore. You can leave." Evelyn's gaze didn't leave Quentin. This was their ending. She wanted to remember it well. Quentin stood up, his body swaying for a moment. He looked deeply at Evelyn once and walked toward the door. The moment he opened the door, Quentin didn't look back. "I'm sorry." Then came the sound of the door closing. Evelyn's vision was completely filled with tears. The air around her was quiet, she couldn't even hear her own breathing. Evelyn didn't know why she was crying. Quentin's rejection was expected. This was also the result she anticipated. He had given up on her so many times. This was the last time. Evelyn thought she could accept it calmly, but tears still flowed, and her heart still hurt. It is unknown how long after Quentin left that Evelyn still stood there, maintaining her original posture. When the knock on the door sounded, Evelyn's body swayed, and she slowly moved her somewhat stiff legs. Opening the door, Gabriel was holding takeout supper. His smiling face became nervous immediately when he saw Evelyn. "Evelyn, what's wrong? Why are you crying? Are you feeling unwell?" Evelyn shook her head, a bit unsteady, and was helped back to the sofa by Gabriel. Evelyn was still a bit dazed. Under Gabriel's worried gaze, she spoke hesitantly. "I broke up with Quentin, really broke up." Gabriel didn't reply. He could feel the gloom wrapped around Evelyn, although he had always said he wanted them to break up. But now seeing Evelyn in this state, Gabriel didn't know how to comfort her. Looking at Evelyn's trembling shoulders, Gabriel patted Evelyn's back soothingly, looking at Evelyn with a complicated gaze. His disgust for Quentin deepened another layer. Every time he saw Quentin's hypocritical face, Gabriel had the urge to rush up and punch him. Evelyn was the person he had longed for since childhood. Quentin got her so easily, yet didn't cherish her. The first time Evelyn told him about Quentin having a child and ex-wife, Gabriel was so angry he didn't sleep well all night. Now finally waiting until they broke up, Gabriel felt an indescribable discomfort in his heart. Forest of Love, waiting for your return 9. That night Gabriel accompanied Evelyn for a long time. Neither of them spoke, just sitting quietly on the sofa, until Evelyn fell asleep. Gabriel covered her with a blanket, stood beside her watching for a while, and then left quietly. Evelyn didn't sleep peacefully. She didn't remember what she dreamed of, but she was extremely tired. Evelyn sat on the sofa for a long time after waking up, as if she just remembered what happened last night. Her eyes were sore and hard to open. Evelyn felt for her phone, handled a few work messages, then naturally clicked Open Us. This album with only one photo left. Evelyn's mind was blank, but she firmly deleted the last photo, along with this album, disappearing from the phone together. At this moment, Evelyn truly realized that this relationship she spent 5 years maintaining was completely over. Evelyn was depressed at home for 2 days. During these 2 days, whenever Gabriel had time, he would run to her house, cook for her, and watch movies with her. Actually, Evelyn sensed Gabriel's feelings, sensed them from a long time ago. Only back then Gabriel was young. Evelyn just took it as a teenage boy's crush, not taking it seriously. Thinking when he grew up and met more people, he wouldn't like her anymore. She didn't expect Gabriel to persist for so many years. In the 5 years Evelyn was with Quentin, Gabriel rarely appeared. He kept a well-measured distance, not making Evelyn feel embarrassed. Fighting Quentin in the hospital last time was the most impulsive behavior Gabriel had shown. After being depressed for just 2 weeks, Evelyn put all her energy into work. Before a summary meeting, Evelyn found a bag of work documents left at Quentin's house. Evelyn hesitated, but still messaged Quentin. Quentin gave her the password, letting Evelyn go get it herself. Their conversation was very ordinary, like ordinary friends. Evelyn looked at Quentin's reply and smiled self-mockingly. The one who couldn't let go seemed to be really only herself. Evelyn specifically chose a time when Quentin was at work to avoid unnecessary meetings. She just didn't expect to meet Zoe at the door. Zoe was holding supermarket shopping bags, preparing to open the door. Seeing Evelyn, she revealed a triumphant expression. Several older women from the residential committee were walking from the other end of the corridor in this direction. Zoe suddenly spoke. "Is there something Miss Young is here for? Haven't you and Quentin already separated?" Evelyn looked at Zoe's disgusting face and replied in a louder voice. "Can an ex-wife divorced for 8 or 9 years live in someone's house, but I can't come to my ex-boyfriend's house to pick up something? Miss Sterling, our boss saw that anonymous report letter about me intervening in your marriage. Fortunately, Quentin sent me your divorce certificate, but I advise Miss Sterling not to use such methods again. Whether you want to remarry is entirely between you two. Quentin not wanting you has nothing to do with me. Don't send photos to harass me in the future, otherwise I can totally sue you with the surveillance footage for deliberately pushing me down the stairs." After speaking, Evelyn entered the password in front of Zoe, took the document bag on the shoe cabinet, and left. Zoe stood at the door, making no movement for a long time. The discussion of the committee ladies was very obvious in the corridor. A familiar one even followed Evelyn downstairs, striking up a conversation with Evelyn familiarly. "Little Evelyn, did you and Dr. Chase break up?" Evelyn nodded. Previously, because of Charlie, the older women in the complex had complaints about Evelyn, always being sarcastic when seeing her. That woman pointed upstairs and asked again, "Is that Dr. Chase's ex-wife? Is that little boy their child?" Evelyn nodded again, not wanting to say more, but the woman continued muttering to herself. A few days ago, she told everyone she met she was Dr. Chase's wife. She looks mentally unstable, suspecting others of seducing her husband every day. "Is that your husband? Neurotic all day long?" Evelyn didn't reply and walked away quickly. This complex should be the last time she comes here. That night, Quentin messaged again, asking if she got the documents. Then chatted casually a few sentences. Evelyn really wanted to ask Quentin why Zoe was in his house, but held back in the end. Over meant over. She had no right to ask these things. Evelyn's ribs basically healed, and she officially went to work at the office. Many people in the office knew about the report letter. Colleagues knew Quentin and Evelyn had been together for so many years, so this letter didn't affect Evelyn. Instead, they felt injustice for Evelyn, saying bluntly it was really bad luck to meet such people. Quentin was strange recently, always messaging and calling Evelyn. Nothing special, just asking about her health. Evelyn didn't understand what Quentin wanted to do. After answering a few calls, she stopped answering and didn't reply to messages much. Evelyn knew clearly that this love like a quagmire couldn't be sunk into any further. Busy work distracted Evelyn. She hadn't thought of Quentin for a long time. This person seemed to really disappear from her life, as if he never appeared. Until another meeting. Forest of Love, waiting for your return 10, that day Evelyn received a task to interview an old professor who was hospitalized. And that hospital was the one Quentin worked at. Evelyn thought about asking other colleagues to replace her, but after asking around, no one was free to help her with this favor. When she was about to walk into the hospital, Evelyn was still comforting herself in her heart. There are so many people in the hospital, and the department they were going to wasn't Quentin's. They shouldn't meet. The interview went smoothly, but when packing up equipment to leave, Evelyn still heard that familiar voice. "Evelyn?" Evelyn's arm was grabbed. She had to turn back to look at Quentin. They hadn't seen each other for more than a month. Quentin seemed thinner. Evelyn controlled her scrutinizing gaze, signaled colleagues to leave first, and smiled politely at Quentin. "Dr. Chase, long time no see." A trace of pain flashed in Quentin's eyes. His fingers exerted slight force, gripping Evelyn's arm a bit painfully. Seeing Evelyn frown, Quentin let go as if shocked by electricity. "Sorry, can we talk?" Evelyn hesitated, but still walked with Quentin to the hospital's central small garden. There weren't many people there now, only a few patients resting on benches. They stood facing each other. Quentin's tone carried a bit of caution. Evelyn, have you been busy with work lately? How is the injury on your ribs? Evelyn didn't look at Quentin's face. Her gaze was on a green plant by his feet, answering absent-mindedly. It's okay. What do you want to talk to me about? Quentin was quiet for a long while. The pause was so long that Evelyn couldn't help looking up at him. Quentin's lips were pressed tight. This was his manifestation of nervousness. Suddenly, Quentin grabbed Evelyn's hand hanging by her side. Evelyn, let's reconcile, okay? Give me some time, I will handle Zoe's matter well, and then we'll get married, okay? This was the first time Evelyn heard Quentin speak to her in a pleading tone. She froze for a moment. When she realized what he said, she had to admit her heart hurt fiercely, then quickly calmed down. She pulled her hand out of Quentin's palm, sat on the bench next to her, back to the sunlight, and spoke slowly. I gave you so much time. I have an album, it's the 5 years we were together, 1 photo each year. I originally wanted to put them at the wedding. Then Charlie and Zoe appeared. Every time you left me behind and chose them, I deleted a photo. The last photo was deleted when we broke up. I gave you so many chances, the price each time was getting myself hurt. If you had chosen me even once, we wouldn't have become like this. I'm too tired, Quentin. We aren't suitable to be together anymore. Quentin walked to Evelyn and knelt slowly, the pain in his eyes seemingly about to overflow. I'm sorry, Evelyn. I didn't handle it well, but we've been together for so many years. How can we not be suitable? Can you please not leave me? This past month, I miss you every day. Give me one more chance, okay? Quentin looked up at Evelyn, eye rims slightly red, looking incredibly fragile. Evelyn's heart clenched fiercely. Even breathing became unsteady. This was the first time Evelyn saw Quentin like this. Just as Evelyn prepared to say something, a figure approached them, and Zoe's voice sounded not far nor near. Quentin and Miss Young, you are here. Made me look for a long time. Quentin stood up from the ground, standing in front of Evelyn defensively, his voice turning cold. What are you doing here? Didn't I say many times, don't come to the hospital to disturb my work? If you do this again, I'll contact Mr. Sterling. Evelyn's view was blocked completely. She couldn't see their expressions, but she didn't want to be sandwiched between them. When preparing to get up and leave, Zoe suddenly stepped past Quentin in a few steps and knelt with a thud in front of Evelyn. Her action caught Evelyn off guard. She stepped back and sat back on the chair. Quentin reacted quickly to pull Zoe. What are you trying to pull again? Get up quickly. Zoe's thin body wasn't pulled up by Quentin. She suddenly cried loudly, shouting hoarsely at Evelyn. Miss Young, I beg you, give Quentin back to me. I can't live without him. I will die. Our child can't be without a father, I beg you. Forest of love, waiting for your return. 11. Zoe's expression could be described as manic, her voice hoarse, attracting everyone's attention in the empty small garden. Veins popped on Quentin's forehead. Obviously, he was furious. He first stepped forward to block between Zoe and Evelyn. Their distance was already close. When Quentin stood there, his pants almost touched Zoe's face. Quentin frowned tightly, scolding sternly. Enough, Zoe, I said many times. We've been divorced for 8 years, 8 years. Do you understand? I have no feelings for you. My actions during this time are all out of my morality toward you. Don't push your luck, utilizing my guilt for Charlie to hurt people around me. Look at what Charlie has become under your raising. Do you have to drive everyone crazy? Zoe was stunned by Quentin's yelling, then lay on the ground crying bitterly. The hospital security came. Quentin had people lift Zoe onto a mobile metal bed. Zoe struggled fiercely. Quentin directly ordered someone to inject Zoe with a sedative. Evelyn was a bit worried whether this action complied with regulations. After medical staff wheeled Zoe away, Quentin sat beside Evelyn exhaustedly, pinching the bridge of his nose. Zoe was originally arranged by me in the hospital's psychiatric department, but when she looks not serious, she runs everywhere. Charlie's illness is mostly inherited from Zoe. At that time, I didn't know Zoe's family had a history of genetic mental illness. When we just got married, she wasn't too serious, showing nothing special except a bad temper. Later, when pregnant with Charlie, it started getting serious. I advised her to abort the child, but neither she nor her parents were willing. She almost drove me crazy during pregnancy. The Sterling parents also watched me grow up. They agreed to our divorce because they couldn't bear to see me like this. They were raising Charlie. This time I asked, they said Zoe recovered very well domestically, so they let her come back. Who knew it would be again? Evelyn didn't know what words to comfort Quentin with. Finally, she just patted his shoulder. Like a friend. I'll pretend I didn't hear what you just said. Your current situation isn't suitable for discussing feelings. Current you, no matter who you are with, will be hurt by that mother and son. You better think carefully about how to handle this relationship first. After speaking, Evelyn left, not looking back at Quentin once. She was afraid her heart would ache if she looked back. After all, this was a relationship she invested 5 years in, but it was just that. Tasteless to eat, a pity to discard. Returning home that night, Evelyn still heard gossip about Quentin. After being together so long, their circle of friends overlapped somewhat. Quentin was suspended for a month because of the scene Zoe made in the small garden. The one who told her this news was a nurse at Quentin's hospital. She had a good relationship with Evelyn. She sighed when saying it, saying Zoe had made scenes in the hospital like this many times. Several times seeing Quentin working with a nurse, she rushed over and slapped the nurse, saying the nurse seduced her husband. Another time she rushed in while Quentin was doing rounds, saying their child was sick, insisting Quentin go back with her. Quentin, who previously had good popularity and reputation in the hospital, was given a hard time by people after Zoe made such a fuss. Evelyn also sighed in her heart. She understood Quentin's love for the profession of a doctor. Zoe really knew how to hit people where it hurts, but Evelyn only thought about it for a while. After all, the decision she made had no possibility of regret. Just unexpected was that the next day, Evelyn received a call from Quentin. His voice sounded feeble. "Evelyn, can you keep me company? To the harbor. Please don't refuse me, okay? I'm really too tired." Evelyn actually heard a trace of despair in Quentin's voice. Hesitating for a few seconds, Evelyn agreed to Quentin's invitation. It was an old harbor. Not many ships docked there anymore. Pedestrians were few. When Evelyn arrived, Quentin was already standing there. The deep winter weather made his back look very lonely. Evelyn walked over and stood beside him. Quentin turned his head to look at Evelyn, handing her a cup of hot milk tea. Evelyn took it and thanked him. Thought Quentin would pour out bitterness to her. Unexpectedly, he output almost no negative emotions. Just chatting with Evelyn about some daily things, a smile always on his face. Only the fatigue in his eyes couldn't be hidden no matter what. Seeing Quentin like this, Evelyn felt a bit uncomfortable in her heart. After all, this was someone she had deeply loved. The dinner atmosphere was good. Evelyn also avoided sensitive topics, trying to talk about happy things with Quentin. But this happy atmosphere was broken near the end of dinner, because Charlie appeared at the restaurant entrance just like the first time he appeared. Evelyn stood up the instant she saw him. The shadow this child brought Evelyn was too deep. Quentin turned his head following Evelyn's gaze. The moment he saw Charlie, his face became very bad. He got up and pulled Charlie in front of him, asking him with a very serious expression, "Who brought you here? How did you find this place?" Quentin's hand holding Charlie was trembling, veins popping on his forehead, trying hard to suppress his emotions. And Charlie's eyes stared fixedly at Evelyn. Evelyn got goosebumps from his stare, unconsciously stepping back a few steps. Quentin turned Charlie's head back, forcing Charlie to look at him. "Tell Daddy." Charlie was silent for a few seconds, then lowered his head, twisting his 2 hands in front of his chest. "Mommy brought me here. Mommy saw it from the phone, then brought me here." In just an instant, Quentin and Evelyn realized immediately that Zoe must have installed a tracking system on Quentin. Evelyn felt it was a bit absurd. Quentin closed his eyes fiercely for a moment. When opening them again, a trace of pain flashed in his eyes. Charlie suddenly started crying. "Daddy, are you really going to throw me and Mommy away because of this slut?" Quentin's emotions exploded uncontrollably. He roared at Charlie with red eyes. "Don't speak about her like that. Who exactly taught you to be so ill-bred?" All eyes in the restaurant gathered. Evelyn hurriedly apologized to the surrounding guests. Quentin calmed down, saying apologetically to Evelyn, "Sorry, Evelyn, I'll take Charlie back first." Evelyn nodded, watching Quentin pick up Charlie and walk out. Charlie's eyes were still staring fixedly at Evelyn. Quentin walked outside the restaurant, said something to Charlie, then Charlie pointed in a direction. A white car was parked on the roadside. Quentin pulled open the door and put Charlie inside, but he didn't get into the car himself. Quentin walked to his own car and left quickly. That white car didn't follow Quentin to leave, but drove toward the restaurant. Sitting by the window, Evelyn clearly saw Zoe sitting in the driver's seat, casting a venomous look at her, making her feel cold all over. Forest of Love, waiting for your return 12, Evelyn sat in the restaurant for a while before leaving. The looks from Charlie and Zoe made her very uneasy. Quentin changed this time they met. The Quentin who used to be full of confidence, even somewhat arrogant, became very fragile. Evelyn could clearly feel that Quentin was urgently looking for a support, obviously on the edge of a breakdown. Evelyn was a bit worried about Quentin. Even if not partners, she didn't wish for anything to really happen to Quentin. Gabriel was rushing his thesis recently, staying at school and hadn't come back. Evelyn was home alone lately. Rarely having a period of only herself after that dinner, Quentin didn't contact her again. Evelyn was a bit conflicted about whether to ask about the situation, but gave up in the end. She was afraid Quentin would misunderstand, and also afraid of encountering danger herself. When Quentin contacted her again, Evelyn's heart was incredibly complicated. That day she was still at work. Property management suddenly called her. "Miss Young, this is Zio Jai. Did you offend someone? Your front door was splashed with paint, and many unpleasant words were written. Why don't you come back and take a look? Contact us if you need to call the police." Evelyn was stunned, told people at the office, and hurriedly prepared to go home to check. Just opening the car door, the phone rang. It was Quentin's call. Evelyn got into the car and answered the phone. "Evelyn, listen to me. A while ago I contacted Zoe's family. They sent Zoe to a closed hospital. Yesterday the hospital called me saying she escaped from the hospital. Now none of us know where she is. You have to be careful. Her mental state is extremely unstable now. I'm afraid she will hurt you." Panic surged in Evelyn's heart. Zoe's venomous gaze unconsciously surfaced before her eyes again. Evelyn hesitated and spoke. "She should have already come to find me. Property management just called me saying my door was splashed with paint." Quentin paused for a while on the other end, sighing deeply. "Call the police, Evelyn. I'm afraid Zoe will hurt you." Evelyn's chest felt tight. Comforting Quentin with 2 sentences, she hung up and rushed home. Approaching her door, she saw a group of grandpas and grandmas who didn't work gathered at her door. Also several property management staff in security uniforms. Evelyn walked over quickly. The dark brown security door was splashed full of bright red paint, extremely dazzling. On the snow-white wall next to it, words like slut, seducing someone's husband, die a bad death were written in red paint. The blood-red words hadn't dried yet. Red paint was still flowing down, looking unusually eerie. Evelyn took photos and sent them to Quentin, then dialed the police. The police came quickly, and property management cooperated to pull surveillance footage. Quentin rushed over immediately. Although he had seen the photos, when really facing the appearance of Evelyn's door, his pupils still shrank sharply. He looked at Evelyn with a pale face. "I'm sorry for making you experience this." Evelyn looked at Quentin's ashen face and patted his shoulder. "Saying this is meaningless. The most important thing now is to find the person quickly." The surveillance clearly captured Zoe's movement trajectory. While she did these things, passers-by tried to stop her, but she ignored them. However, the surveillance only captured her walking out of the complex. Subsequent surveillance didn't capture her. Quentin was on the phone contacting unknown people. His face was ugly. Just walking out of the surveillance room, Evelyn saw Gabriel running over sweating profusely. Seeing Evelyn, Gabriel's eyes lit up obviously. He ran quickly to Evelyn, saying slightly breathlessly, "Evelyn, are you okay? What happened at the door scared me. Did you call the police?" Gabriel's eyes were fully occupied by nervousness and worry. Evelyn bent her eyes at him, patting his arm soothingly. "I'm fine, I already called the police. Let's go back and talk." Quentin also walked toward Evelyn after finishing his call at this time. Gabriel saw him, his face becoming very bad immediately. "Why is he here?" Evelyn tugged Gabriel's sleeve, saying to Quentin, "You go back first. Notify me anytime if there's news." Quentin looked at Gabriel with a complicated expression, then nodded and left. Gabriel and Evelyn walked home together. On the way, Evelyn told Gabriel about Zoe. Instantly, Gabriel frowned deeply. "Don't live there for now. It's too dangerous. What if that woman does something again? Stay at my place first. I'll go back to school to sleep at night. It's not far." Evelyn hesitated but agreed. Zoe's side was indeed uncontrollable. Staying at Gabriel's side first was the best choice. 3 days passed in a flash. Quentin's side still hadn't found Zoe. Evelyn was very uneasy, always afraid Zoe would suddenly appear from some corner. Today Evelyn had been apprehensive since waking up in the morning, her whole person tense. Last night Quentin messaged Evelyn telling her Charlie was taken away by Zoe. They still hadn't found them. Evelyn, just walking out of the office building after work, seeing Charlie that instant, felt the unease of the day seemingly finally came true. Evelyn didn't continue walking forward, but stood in place looking at Charlie, called Quentin, telling him Charlie was found. Quentin said he would rush over immediately, asking Evelyn to try to stall Charlie. Evelyn's throat rolled, somewhat nervous. Every time she saw Charlie, Evelyn's head would throb faintly, and his hysterical crying. Evelyn hesitated and walked toward Charlie. When still 2 meters away from him, Evelyn stopped. Evelyn found Charlie was trembling, the expression on his face very nervous, so she tried to keep her voice soft. "Charlie, stay here and don't move first, okay? Your daddy will come to find you later." Charlie seemed stimulated by the word daddy, suddenly rushing toward Evelyn, screaming sharply in his mouth. "If you die, daddy will come back, Forest of Love, waiting for your return." 13 Evelyn was frightened by his reaction, retreating several steps in a row, then saw the hand Charlie raised rushing over. In his hand, he gripped a fruit knife glinting with cold light. Evelyn grabbed the hand that was about to reach her eyes with quick eyes and hands. There were many people during rush hour. Many were scared by Charlie's behavior. Several quick-reacting ones immediately ran over to help Evelyn control Charlie. Charlie's wrist was grabbed by Evelyn, body hugged by others who rushed over. His whole person twisted non-stop, shouting loudly, "If you die, Daddy will come back, why don't you die yet?" Evelyn pulled the fruit knife out of Charlie's hand with her other hand, looking at the still struggling Charlie with a complicated expression. Suddenly, Quentin rushed over from behind, pulled Charlie violently and slapped him on the face. Saying angrily, "Enough, I see you really are crazy," Charlie fell silent instantly. One side of his cheek swelled rapidly. He looked at Quentin in disbelief. Then his breathing suddenly became very rapid, and his face instantly turned pale. Evelyn was startled, hurriedly grabbing Quentin. Quick, to the hospital, Charlie's body went limp, breathing difficult, fingers tightly grasping the clothes on his chest. Quentin calmed down a bit. Evelyn helped call the ambulance. When the ambulance came, Evelyn didn't follow after all. Until now, her heartbeat was still very fast. Thanking the few unfamiliar colleagues who rushed to help, Evelyn drove home. Hesitating, she entered Gabriel's home. Lying exhausted on the sofa, the phone rang. It was Quentin. "Evelyn, are you hurt?" "Charlie, he has stabilized, I'm sorry." Quentin's voice sounded muffled, full of deep guilt. "I'm fine, not hurt. Charlie, did he hear something from his mother? The situation looks very bad." Quentin sighed deeply. "I called his psychiatrist. The doctor said his mental state, influenced by Zoe, is very unstable. After finding Zoe, I will consider sending him abroad again." Evelyn comforted him with a few sentences. After hanging up, she suddenly received a string of messages from Gabriel. It was a video link, a passerby filming Charlie and her, exactly what happened after work. The accompanying caption was very inciting. The filmer was very close. What Charlie said was incredibly clear. The text directly said Evelyn was the mistress breaking up someone's family, driving the child to become like this. Gabriel probably couldn't get through on the phone, so he sent a string of messages. Evelyn hurriedly called back. Gabriel's voice sounded anxious. "Evelyn, what's with this video? Are you hurt? Is it Quentin's son again? Is he crazy?" Evelyn comforted him, telling him not to worry too much, she would handle the video matter. Public opinion was a journalist's trade. The video's popularity wasn't very high. Evelyn contacted the video author directly, formally informing him of the various legal bases this video violated and Charlie's specific situation. If this video author didn't make an apology and specific clarification, Evelyn would formally file a lawsuit. The author replied very quickly. Directly stated someone paid money to make him post the video with this caption, and sent Evelyn the chat records. The video author deleted the video. Evelyn called Quentin. They could determine almost immediately that person was Zoe. Evelyn called the police, found out others who published this video simultaneously, tracked the payment account, and directly froze the account. If Zoe wasn't found soon, Evelyn felt she would be driven crazy. Going to work the next day, her gossip spread almost throughout the office. However, due to Zoe's previous behaviors, the whole office knew she was entangled by a crazy person. Hearing the child was Quentin's son this time, most people expressed sympathy for Evelyn. Meeting such things was really bad luck. Evelyn didn't say much to colleagues. This was Quentin's private matter after all. Discussing behind backs wasn't good in the end. Walking out of the office, Evelyn looked around nervously, afraid strange people would appear again. Then she saw Gabriel smiling at her. Evelyn walked over quickly, thinking something happened. "Why are you here? Did something happen?" Gabriel took the laptop bag she was carrying, shaking his head. No, just finished my thesis, have free time again. Came to pick you up from work." "Isn't that woman not found yet? What if she blocks you on the road?" Evelyn looked at the back, walking in front. The kid who followed her but many years ago, unknown when, had grown into such a reliable appearance. Evelyn followed Gabriel home. The mess at her door had long been cleaned up by someone. A newly painted white wall was unusually conspicuous. Every time Evelyn saw it, she felt heart palpitations, as if she could still see the blood-red words covered underneath. One day Zoe wasn't found, the unease in her heart would increase a layer. Quentin messaged her saying after Charlie woke up, confirmed indeed it was Zoe inciting him to do so. After taking Charlie out of the hospital, Zoe took him to a hotel, then constantly told him, as long as Evelyn was killed, his daddy would return to them. They could live happily together, never separating. Finally sent Charlie to Evelyn's office entrance. When Charlie did these things, Zoe should have been nearby. Only checking surveillance didn't find her specific location. Evelyn's mood was complex. She hated this mother and son incredibly on one hand, yet felt Charlie was very pitiful on the other. It wasn't hard to guess how he was raised by Zoe. At such a young age, time and again for the mother's purpose, letting his already unstable emotions be on the edge of collapse time and again. How could a kid this age distinguish right from wrong? He only knew his mother asked him to do so, accepting everything instilled by his mother indiscriminately. Zoe's parents were also trying hard to search together and expressed apologies to Evelyn through Quentin. Gabriel was more nervous than Evelyn during this time, buying a pile of self-defense items for Evelyn, escorting her to and from work, messages continuously. This made Evelyn a bit amused. Gabriel was very serious. "I don't want to see you hurt again. I'm really afraid to see you lying in the hospital bed with eyes closed again." Evelyn's heart felt warm and full, calming some unease. This boy who grew up with her had grown to be able to give her a sense of security. Forest of Love, waiting for your return. 14 Charlie was left in the hospital, watched 24 hours by Zoe's parents, giving Zoe no chance. Zoe's payment account was also frozen. Believed in a few days, she would appear herself. This made Evelyn settle down a bit. Only no one expected Zoe appearing again would be in this way. When Evelyn was running fieldwork, suddenly received a call. Opposite was a strange man. "Hello, is this Miss Evelyn Young? This is Tianshui Road Police Station." Evelyn's heart was lifted instantly. She walked to a quiet corner. "Yes, I am. Is there something wrong?" The other end of the phone sounded noisy. "It's like this. A woman is standing on the roof of the 3rd hospital wanting to commit suicide. She demands your appearance to talk. Is it convenient for you to come over?" A thunderclap seemed to explode in Evelyn's ear, voice becoming a bit trembling. "Okay, I'm heading there now." Hanging up, Evelyn explained a few words to field colleagues and hurried into the car, then called Quentin. Quentin was obviously on the way too, voice revealing nervousness and anger. Apparently, he also received the police call. The 3rd hospital was where Quentin worked. Zoe's behavior was simply not wanting to let Quentin continue staying in the hospital. When Evelyn arrived, many people had gathered downstairs. Firefighters had also set up air cushions. This building of the 3rd hospital was newly built. Highest was over 10 floors. Evelyn looked up, only seeing a tiny figure at the very top. This also made Evelyn's heart tighten suddenly. Evelyn waited downstairs for a while before Quentin arrived, dusty and travel-worn. His hair wasn't groomed, even a circle of blue stubble around his lips. After seeing Evelyn, he trotted over, looked up, and went upstairs with Evelyn expressionlessly. The hospital roof had a helipad, so it wasn't sealed dead, usually just locked. Zoe stole the security room key to come up this time. As soon as they went up, police came to ask about the situation. Learning they were the people Zoe wanted to find, the police looked complicated. Quentin explained Zoe's mental condition to the police in detail. The police looked at them with a complicated expression. Since she has such severe mental illness, family should watch a bit more. How can you let her run around? If she really causes loss of life, we can't handle it easily. While Quentin talked to the police, Evelyn saw Zoe sitting on the railing through the crowd. Thin figure wrapped in a bright red blanket. That blanket was blown up by the wind on the roof, like a bright red flag. Evelyn decided almost instantly red would be her most hated color in the future. Police led Evelyn and Quentin toward Zoe. Then someone shouted to Zoe, saying the people she wanted to see arrived. The wind on the roof was strong, blowing Evelyn's face painful. Zoe turned to look at them. The moment she turned, Zoe's hair was blown onto her face, unable to see her expression. Evelyn couldn't help stepping back a few steps. Zoe stood up, figure swaying unexpectedly. Her action made people on the roof exclaim in unison. Quentin instinctively walked forward a few steps, wanting to reach out to grab Zoe, but was interrupted by Zoe's scream. Zoe's face was revealed, pale and haggard, bottom of eyes scarlet carrying a trace of madness, staring fixedly at Evelyn. It's all you, why don't you go die? Evelyn was scared by Zoe's appearance, body trembling uncontrollably. Quentin's nervous back was shaking. Zoe, calm down, come down first. Charlie is still waiting for you. Zoe's screaming stopped. She looked at Quentin and smiled, then threw something at Quentin's feet. Waiting for me? You don't even want Charlie, kill her, you kill her and I'll come down. Everyone saw clearly then, thrown at Quentin's feet was a utility knife. Quentin's face was ugly. Lips pressed tight without a word, then he saw the firefighter climbing up from the fence. He gestured to Quentin. Quentin reacted quickly, immediately beginning to attract Zoe's attention. Calm down, Zoe. Your position is very dangerous. Come closer, okay? Let's talk properly. Zoe's excited emotions weren't calmed by this, but continued shouting at Quentin. Pick it up, I told you to pick it up, kill her. Quentin slowly squatted down, picking up the utility knife on the ground, eyes never leaving Zoe. Evelyn was also very nervous. She tried to focus on Zoe, not looking at the firefighter getting closer behind her. Seeing Quentin pick up the utility knife, Zoe suddenly laughed loudly, repeating constantly, "Ha ha ha, kill her, kill her." The firefighter who finally climbed onto the platform suddenly rushed out, pressing Zoe onto the ground. People around also rushed up closely. Looking at Zoe pinned firmly on the ground, Evelyn finally breathed a sigh of relief. A layer of thin sweat on her back, feeling legs soft. Quentin's shoulders also relaxed instantly. Medical staff, notified by him in advance, tied the still fiercely struggling Zoe onto the mobile bed. Injected a sedative, finally quieted down. Meanwhile, Quentin suddenly turned and hugged Evelyn, body still trembling. Voice also had some suppressible tremors. "Evelyn, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Evelyn wanted to push away but put her hand down, hesitatingly patted his back lightly. "It's over." Then Evelyn felt an intense gaze. Turning her head slightly, she met Zoe's gaze violently. She lay on the bed, head turned, looking at Evelyn, red veins in eyes seemingly overflowing, and that unconcealable venom. After Zoe was taken away, Evelyn and Quentin were also taken back to give statements. Walking out of the police station, Quentin stood hesitatingly in front of Evelyn. "Evelyn, during this time I'm really sorry. I won't force you to answer me anymore. I still love you very much. Still hope you can give me another chance, but I will accept your choice. Decisions made too rashly before caused the current situation, making you bear so much for me. I'm sorry. Hope you can be happy." Quentin's eye rims were a bit red. He wiped his face, trying hard to pull a smile. "I won't take you back. There are still many things to handle over there." Evelyn nodded, watching Quentin leave. His back revealed a thick desolation. Evelyn felt a bit sour in her heart, so she let out a long breath, finally ended. The burden in her heart could finally be put down. When going back, Gabriel was waiting anxiously at home. Zoe's matter was posted online by many people. Gabriel saw it too, nervous enough to call Evelyn a dozen times. But Evelyn was on the roof then, didn't answer. Entering the door, Evelyn was hugged tightly in Gabriel's arms. He rested his forehead on Evelyn's shoulder, voice muffled. "Evelyn, don't meet Quentin anymore, okay? Every time you meet him, you get hurt." "I'm really distressed, really afraid." Evelyn froze. The heat coming from the shoulder seemed to melt into the heart through the skin, very warm, also disturbing the heartbeat. Gabriel didn't really want Evelyn's answer. He lifted his head in a while, then dumped out a pile of things bought for Evelyn. Visual doorbell, various cameras. Gabriel explained to Evelyn one by one, then helped her install them. After Zoe was taken by the hospital, Evelyn moved back to her own home. With so many cameras, sense of security exploded. Returning home lying down, Evelyn secretly made a decision in her heart. Cannot treat Gabriel as a child anymore. Gabriel's feelings for her were serious. She should also treat this relationship seriously. Always escaping would break his heart. Forest of Love, waiting for your return 15. Evelyn's life got back on track. Quentin would tell her what happened later periodically. Zoe's condition was very unstable. Not suitable for long-haul flights. Could only observe domestically first. Wait until stable, then send her and Charlie abroad together. Evelyn chatted casually with Quentin a few sentences. Quentin was indeed preparing to change hospitals. This was also the meaning of the third hospital's leadership. Evelyn was still somewhat emotional. Quentin stayed in the third hospital for so long. This way, he could only start over in a new hospital. But the best point was neither Quentin nor Evelyn received any substantive harm. Life seemed to return to normal. Approaching Gabriel's birthday, Evelyn picked a birthday gift for him for a long time. On his birthday, she cooked a big table of dishes at home for him. Gabriel was very happy after coming back, a happy, silly smile hanging on his face. Evelyn couldn't help bending her eyes watching. When blowing birthday cake candles, Gabriel clasped his hands, piously saying his birthday wish. "I hope Evelyn can agree to my confession later." Evelyn's face burned suddenly, a trace of sweetness rising in her heart. She had to admit she wasn't completely without feelings for Gabriel. Only she was a bit afraid. The previous relationship that could totally be called a failure was memorable to her. Evelyn invested so many years of time, energy, emotion, managed with heart for many years, result obtained was incredibly tragic. So when a relationship was placed in front of Evelyn again, she dared not reach out. When Gabriel opened his eyes again, candlelight danced in his pitch-black eyes, full of thick love. Evelyn seemed burned by this love. Coming back to senses, her hand was held by Gabriel, then blew out candles. Two fell into darkness. Gabriel's voice sounded in the dark. "Evelyn, I've liked you for many years. Don't know when it started, as long as you appear, I only see you. I dared not confess to you. I could see, your eyes looking at me only had affection. Later you were with Quentin, I was really jealous. Seeing you hurt time and again because of him, I hated myself for being useless. Couldn't even protect the person I like. Evelyn, I know it's not easy for you to accept the next relationship now. I will wait for you. I've waited so many years. Just hope you don't push me away again, okay?" Evelyn could feel trembling from Gabriel's hand holding hers. Room with lights off was very dark, couldn't see Gabriel's expression clearly. Evelyn's heartbeat was fast. She also became nervous unconsciously. After taking a deep breath, she held Gabriel's hand tight. "Okay." Just this one-word answer let her fall into a warm embrace. Evelyn hooked the corner of her mouth. This embrace was very warm. Maybe she should be braver. Quentin still messaged Evelyn occasionally, but very measured. Arriving at the weekend, Quentin messaged Evelyn saying Zoe's condition basically stabilized. Hospital abroad arranged. Preparing to fly abroad with Zoe and Charlie tomorrow. This time Quentin and Zoe's parents would accompany them, arrange everything before coming back. Evelyn sighed heavily in her heart. Was this matter finally coming to an end? Weather today was very good. Sunlight made the air warm. Evelyn and Gabriel prepared to go out for a stroll. While eating lunch, Evelyn suddenly received Quentin's call again. Gabriel saw the caller ID, a bit unhappy. Evelyn smiled and patted his head, then picked up the phone. Quentin's voice sounded panicked. "Evelyn, Zoe said she was going to the toilet just now, then drove a car and ran out. Listen to me. Go home immediately now, or find a hotel to stay. Wait for us to find Zoe." Gabriel saw Evelyn's suddenly changing expression, unconsciously tightening his grip on her hand. Evelyn hung up and pulled Gabriel to leave. Explained the current situation to Gabriel on the way. They prepared to go home immediately. Didn't know how long finding Zoe would take. They couldn't stay in a hotel forever. Gabriel driving was also very nervous. They have so many people, how can they not even watch a woman? Let her run out once, can still let her run out twice? Gabriel was really angry, mouth constantly muttering about Quentin's incompetence. Evelyn was also very flustered. What Zoe did last time was extreme enough. Really didn't know what she could do this time. Evelyn's heart thumped non-stop. Road home seemed very long. Atmosphere in the car was serious. A layer of fine sweat even oozed from Gabriel's forehead. Finally home. Gabriel parked the car downstairs, holding Evelyn walking quickly toward the unit entrance. Suddenly, a harsh sound came from behind. Forest of Love, waiting for your return 16. Gabriel and Evelyn looked back simultaneously. A car drove rapidly from behind, completely not avoiding people on the road, causing bursts of screams. Evelyn discovered quickly the driver was Zoe. Vehicle rushed toward them rapidly. Gabriel discovered too. He pulled Evelyn running quickly toward the corridor. Palms of both had a layer of fine sweat. Still 200 or 300 meters from the corridor. That white car got closer and closer. Evelyn's nose tip even smelled a thick gasoline scent. Ears could only hear her own heartbeat. They ultimately didn't outrun the car. At a distance of about 100 meters from the corridor entrance, the car was right before eyes. Evelyn seemed to see the upward arc of Zoe's mouth. But when the car slammed over fiercely, Gabriel used all his strength to push Evelyn away. Evelyn pulled Gabriel in the momentum, then heard a loud bang. Car front hit the wall. Evelyn was shocked deaf for an instant by the huge sound. Head buzzing, crawling up from the ground, saw Gabriel lying a bit behind. Evelyn's mind went blank instantly. She crawled up from the ground, half kneeling beside Gabriel. She saw clearly one of Gabriel's legs was sandwiched between the car front and the wall. Dazzling red stained the wall. Evelyn was very afraid. Fear of Gabriel's accident drowned her panic. Many people surrounded. Some helped call police, some helped call 120. Evelyn dared not move Gabriel. She could only kneel on the ground, calling Gabriel's name over and over, but no one answered her. Unknown how long passed. Sound of ambulance got closer. Medical staff arrived, pulling Evelyn away. Then, with arrived fire, police together took Gabriel's leg out from between car and wall. That car had begun to emit thick smoke. Evelyn saw in thick smoke medical staff lifting Gabriel onto stretcher, and lifting Zoe covered in blood out of the car. Muddled watching Gabriel's stretcher go on ambulance, she followed too. Gabriel lying there face full of dirt, wearing oxygen mask. Looking at Gabriel with eyes closed tight, Evelyn understood instantly words Gabriel once said. Looking at Gabriel lying there with eyes closed. Turned out it felt like this. Evelyn held Gabriel's hand. Temperature transmitted from held hand calmed Evelyn's heart a bit. Forest of Love, waiting for your return 17. After arriving at the hospital, Evelyn recovered a lot. She simply treated wounds with medical staff, did a basic check. Except for scratches on face and hands by debris, Evelyn suffered no other injuries. Then she sat at the door of Gabriel's operating room. Medical staff told her Gabriel had a comminuted fracture in one leg, needed surgery immediately. Evelyn sat outside the operating room, metal stool cold to the bone. Evelyn missed Gabriel's warm palm incredibly at this moment. A burst of hurried footsteps came. Evelyn looked up mechanically. It was Quentin. His eye rims were red. Panic on face very obvious. Sighed in relief the moment seeing Evelyn, then turned to look at operating room with red light on. Veins popped on clenched fists. He sat beside Evelyn, daring not look at Evelyn's eyes. How is Gabriel? Evelyn knew clearly this wasn't Quentin's fault, but indeed couldn't separate from him. So she endured all emotions, no life danger, comminuted fracture of leg. Doing surgery now. Quentin's head lowered more, voice somewhat choking. Sorry, Zoe died, wasn't resuscitated. Hearing this news, Evelyn's body shook fiercely, looking at Quentin in disbelief. How much did Zoe hate her, to use this perish-together method to take revenge on her? Evelyn felt fallen into ice cave, teeth trembling. Quentin looked up, staring at Evelyn fixedly. I will take Charlie away, might not come back again. It's all my selfishness, thinking I could balance this relationship well, result brought you such huge harm. It's all my fault, Evelyn. Hope you can be happy. A tear finally slid from Quentin's red eye rims. Evelyn's nose also soured. She leaned over and hugged Quentin, just like a friend. Then spoke gently, "Not your fault, Quentin. It's you two not suitable. It's her obsession too heavy. Also us not suitable, both reluctant to let go. You are a good person, also a good father, good doctor. When Charlie sees the doctor, you also need to adjust. Don't push yourself." Quentin left. Before leaving, left a large sum of money as Gabriel's medical fees and compensation. Gabriel's surgery was very successful. First person seen opening eyes was Evelyn. Looking at her eyes cried red, he touched Evelyn's swollen eyes distressingly. Learning news of Zoe's death, Gabriel's face was also ugly. That was a human life anyhow, vanished just like that. Quentin taking Charlie to settle abroad made Gabriel very happy. Eating food Evelyn cooked personally sweetly. Gabriel and Evelyn officially got together. The moment seeing Gabriel lying on the ground, Evelyn understood her own heart. Gabriel's leg injury was serious, needed to rest for a long time. Seems reversed between the two. Evelyn picked up and dropped off Gabriel to school every day, taking care of his diet and daily life. Although when with Quentin, Evelyn was also the role taking care of people, but feeling completely different. Quentin's care for her felt somewhat taken for granted, occasionally saying a polite thank you or thanks for your trouble. Gabriel was completely different. Regarding Evelyn's dedication, Gabriel showed 100% touching and gratification every time, as if she did something amazing. This experience made Evelyn fully feel she was being loved. This relationship could give her motivation instead of unilateral consumption. Half a year later, Gabriel could already stand up and walk. Although looking very happy every day, Evelyn knew his pain every time during rehabilitation. Blood marks poked by fingernails in palms covered layer by layer, taking long to disappear. On their 1-year anniversary together, Gabriel proposed. Evelyn was a bit surprised, feeling a bit early. Gabriel pouted unhappily, saying they knew each other for over 20 years, what early. Evelyn smiled, letting Gabriel put the ring on her. Quentin still messaged Evelyn occasionally, asking about her recent situation, talking about his own situation. Every time Gabriel saw, would say sarcastically Quentin still had designs. Just on Evelyn's birthday, Quentin suddenly asked her to go to the harbor at night, saying there was a birthday gift to give her. Gabriel drove Evelyn to the harbor still murmuring. Actually, he was just talking. He and Evelyn both knew clearly, Quentin and Evelyn couldn't go back. Between them lay a human life. This was a hurdle no one could cross. When Evelyn arrived, Quentin called. Suddenly, several drones lit up in the sky, constantly changing formations, spelling Evelyn's name and words like "Happy Birthday." Then appeared fireworks, birthday cake graphics, incredibly dazzling in the dark night sky. Quentin's voice sounded in the phone. "I remember you told me about a colleague, boyfriend arranged drone performance proposal for her. I could see you were very envious then. Sorry couldn't give you anything back then. Now can only give you birthday blessing." Evelyn hadn't answered yet. Gabriel leaned to the phone, starting to shout, "Thanks Dr. Chase for arrangement. Very pretty. I already proposed to Evelyn. She agreed too. When our wedding comes, you must come." Phone sighed quiet for a long time. Then Quentin's voice seemed to come from far away. "Congrats! Wedding, I will definitely attend." Evelyn slapped away Gabriel, still leaning aside, thanked Quentin seriously, then hung up looking at the sky turned pitch black. Current her envied nothing. She extended her hand, that ring on middle finger embedded in her eyes like a star. Day Evelyn and Gabriel married, Quentin really appeared. He held Charlie, walking toward Evelyn and Gabriel standing at the door together. Charlie grew up a bit, like a big kid. Eyes cleared a lot, seeing Evelyn still a bit blushing, wanting to hide behind Quentin. Quentin pulled him out. Charlie stood before Evelyn, bowed deeply to her, saying a bit stutteringly, "Sorry, Aunt Evelyn, I did many wrong things before. Now I know those were wrong. I changed them all." Evelyn bent her eyes, touched the kid's head. Quentin stepped forward, smiling at them. "Happy wedding, very beautiful today." Quentin thinned a lot, but despair in bottom of eyes finally dissipated. Whole person seemed to change back to that refined Dr. Chase. Gabriel held Evelyn's hand tightly. Evelyn looked at him amusedly. Why hold so tight? Still afraid I run away till now? Gabriel seemed more nervous, immediately pulling her backstage, hugging her tightly. I get nervous seeing Quentin. You don't know how many nightmares I had of you dumping me leaving with him. Evelyn's eyes sparkled, feeling Gabriel's thick love. When walking onto stage, Evelyn, looking at Gabriel with red eye rims, saw her own shadow in his clear eyes. At this moment, her eyes also had sparkling Gabriel. Distance between them getting closer and closer, finally will rely on each other. This forest watered with love finally welcomed its returning bird. The end.